So next is difference in uh, each classes of IO devices. There are you can find that there are differences in different classes of IO devices. The categories which we have made: human readable, machine readable, and communication IO devices. Each are different in different aspects. So here are in what are the different aspects which works differently are listed: data rate, application, complexity of control, a unit of transfer, data representation, and error conditions. So here, what is data rate? The data transfer rate in different IO devices will be definitely different, because say keyboard, the speed of the keyboard, that is how the data whichever are given by the user are transferred to the system, is definitely different from how the terminals are connected with a computer. And the same way, a pen drive or an external hard disk. So the definitely the data rate of each and every input devices is different. And next is application. Application in the sense the software which are required by which we will able to read. Say for an example, machine readable devices, IO devices. Say the disk drives, all the USB devices, it can act as an input and as well an output device. Say the external device can store some data which are received from the processor, and as well sometimes the processor may need to retrieve some data from the external devices. So the even that same external hard disk can act as an input device. So even input and as well output is possible in external hard disk. So the application, the supporting application will be definitely different, because say for the printer, it only needs to send data from the processor to the printer for the purpose of to take a hot copy of printer. So the application which is supported by the printer, and as well as the applications which are required for to read data and retrieve data in hard disk, and the supporting software which are required for modems and digital lines, obviously different. And the third is of complexity of control. So anyhow, those IO devices need a control, by which the processor can have control of that is what the action is happening, how it is can initiate, how it can stop, or it can monitor. So for this, there should be some control. So what kind of control is required? So here you can find that I have listed printer and disk. So the complexity of the control which are required for disk drives is not same as of printer, because say in the case of disk drives, it needs to move the head in and out, that is to every block in sector, everything has to be controlled. So to fetch a particular block of a data from the disk drive, first of all it needs to find the appropriate track, then it needs to find which sector it is. So there are much control is required in the case of to read a data or either to write a data in a disk drive. But in the case of printer, there is no much control is required. It is simply just to find a document which needs to be get printed, then send the data to the printer block by block, or either character, whatever the supporting software which supports. So there is no much control in printer. Then third is unit of transfer, the way by which the data is transferring. Either it can be a byte by byte, or it may send character by character, or block by block. Say I can give you an example. For block, say if you have a pen drive, the data which are stored or which you want to retrieve from the pen drive, obviously which will be written or either reading from the pen drive block by block. And even in Java programming, I hope you have studied the streaming. So as a programmer, we will able to find the we can use the appropriate way of transferring data that is in our hand. As a programmer, we can make the use of what are all the supporting different data transfer methodologies available by which we can choose. So streaming or either character or block is possible. So the next is data representation. The way in which the data are represented in IO devices are obviously different, because the IO supporting software are different. So definitely, obviously, the data which are represented in those particular IO devices obviously different. So the different character encoding, parity representations obviously will be different. Then error conditions. So the nature of error, because the data representation is different, so ultimately the error conditions, nature of error detection, and how it can be resolved, all methodology will be differ from each and every IO devices.